SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
SiriusXM.
Welcome, everybody.
Exclusive comedy talk shows.
This is childlike banter.
This is gonna be nuts. The biggest comedy stars.
Does Jerry Seinfeld miss TV?
Kevin, I did TV.
Michael Che, Colin Jost. Do you guys think post SNL?
I would like to meet my kids. Brian Regan. If I could make $100 doing comedy, I'll have the world by the tail.
I'll do this till the wheels come off.
I didn't even know that was legal.
To listen to SiriusXM Comedy, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood on a beautiful September the 12th, 2024, Thursday. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord didn't split you too wide. I got a great show today. I want to say I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man coming to you from Denver Hills, California. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We should all use more laughter in our lives. I love having more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. I have some Big C's Major League Baseball coming up today. Runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch, curveball. Swung on. Hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. I love hitting deep with Big C Sports Podcast. And then, as I tell you, the show is uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports back in the day at Salem Media. And now we have people that miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. We have people who miss practice, but I'll never miss practice with Big C Sports Podcast, God willing. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love also saying with Big C Sports Podcast, I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. It is always good when somebody's leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. And just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I want to shine light on the world of reparations. And I also got a special guest coming on today, and I'll be introducing him shortly. But I want to say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Malcolm. Happy birthday to you. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I want to wish a special happy birthday thanks to my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm Curry, the most beautiful son in the history of the universe. I love you, son. I've been praying for you. Great wishing you happy birthday this morning, letting me know things are good with you. And I just want to pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always trust God. Always go to God with your faith high and believe that what you ask for, you're going to receive it. In time, you're going to find in life, sometimes all you have is God to believe in. People come and go. People want things, and they come with open hands. But you got to keep your hands open to God's word. And I just want to say I'm so thankful for you being my son. I'm so proud of you being a good young man. Always do the right thing the best way you can in life. And I just pray that God brings you everything you want. As I say, I love being your father. I love wishing you happy birthday. You're the best son in the history of the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And so I love saying that to my son because I know there are times when people get caught up in so many things in life and they really don't spend the time appreciating what they have. And so I want to say praise God for you, my son, and I wish you the very best that God can offer. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I also want to give a special thanks to a good friend who's gotten much better today. He was dealing with some issues and was able to talk to him on the phone today for the first time in about a week. So I thank God for that. It's great having a conversation with you. Always keep your prayers up and be grateful for everything that God has to offer us in life. That's so important. I got some Major League Baseball to talk about. Also, some talks on reparations that I do on every show at Big C Sports Podcast. I'm the most prominent sports show in the universe that talks about reparations because it's due. It's time. I'm even asking the clergy to be a part of this push for reparations. A lot of churches all over the world are praying, trying to get to God. And I'm just asking them to also make sure that we repair what we can repair while we're here. And that's part of reparations. I'm going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. And when I come back, I'm going to talk to a special guest by the name of James Trapp and get some thoughts on what he's doing with some great work happening here in Northern California. I'll take this Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Really do appreciate that. I have a special guest on today, and people, if you've heard me talk over the years, people know I have sometimes allergies. I'm not going to speak it. I'm getting rid of my allergies today because Pastor James Trapp has done a special prayer that he's going to do. He's going to do. I'm not trying to put him on the spot, but faith comes by hearing. And I also want to say, again, as I mentioned before the show started, happy birthday to my beautiful son, Malcolm. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Mr. James Trapp, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, man. I'm blessed, and I'm gonna release those allergies from you and send them to the nothingness from which they have come, never to exist again.
Okay. Rumor has it they're caused by eating too many collard greens, so I don't know if there's a cure for getting rid of the collard greens, but I'll do the best I can. But I do want to say I want to edify you a little bit about your background. And Mr. Trapp, you're also executive director and then senior minister at Spiritual Life Center in Sacramento, California. How did that come into being, sir? Go right ahead, please.
Oh, boy, I can give you a short version of that. In my previous life, I used to be a lawyer. And then things changed in my life, and I started getting on the spiritual path.
Yes.
And I ended up going to ministerial school, becoming an ordained minister, and then running a community in South Florida. Okay. And then I became the CEO in Missouri. And then after being there for 7 years, I went out to the field, and now I'm in Sacramento at the Spiritual Life Center. That's the Reader's Digest version.
That's the Reader's Digest version. And then also, talk about the event that's coming up on Saturday. That I know it happens from 9:30 to 4. Talk about that event and how people can attend it. Your thoughts?
Yes. Well, we're having an event in which there are two individuals, Dane and Constance Perry, a husband and wife team.
Yes.
And they're going to be presenting a documentary entitled Traces of the Trade, a story from the deep north. And what this documentary is about is a family called the DeWolf family, who were one of the major traders of slaves during that era in the United States.
Yes.
And Dane is a direct descendant of them. And so the film is about bringing forth all the things that happened in his family, and he's doing the work now to kind of bring forth some equity, some parity, to right some of the wrongs. And so they're going to show the film, and then they're going to have a discussion about the film for people who are there.
Yes.
And then they're going to have an afternoon workshop to see how we move forward to address the issue of race in America so we can create a more just society.
That's wonderful. I really do appreciate that. Also, talking to James Trapp, also your spiritual life, and also as a lawyer, you went to law school, also being part of the clergy. Can you talk about, is there any contradiction? One has a very favorable view, and the other has oh my God, he's a lawyer, he's going to take all my money.
Well, I always tell people now, I now do divine law. I used to do the law of the world.
Yes.
And, the laws and everything, there's some, like any other profession, there are some great lawyers, and there are some that are somewhat not so great lawyers. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's just part of the process of how the system works.
Yeah.
So when you're in trouble, you want a lawyer, and you want a good lawyer. And the same for me.
Yeah.
If I need a lawyer, I'm gonna hire one myself.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Now, I was taught when you're in trouble, get on your knees and pray to God. Are you saying pray to God that you find a good lawyer? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, you know what they say. Yes. Pray to God, but also tie up your camel at the same time.
That's very fair. I like that. That's a good one. Also, when you think about what you've been doing and then how you got in. In fact, I want to ask you, I grew up in the church also. Grandparents on my father's side, where they had 3 churches growing up, and then my mother always involved in the church with her family. What led you to the ministry? Your thoughts?
Well, one of the things that is, I always tell people that if I were to list 1,000 things that I would do in my life, actually get involved in ministry would not be one of them. It was not something that I had aspired to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes things happen in your life. You have a challenge or crossroads in your life that cause you to reevaluate what's important. And I had those experiences. When I was practicing law, I went through some existential crises. I had my own setbacks and challenges and addictions and so forth. And a friend of mine invited me to go to this particular spiritual community.
Yes.
And I reluctantly went. But when I went, that particular message that minister was speaking that day was specifically for me.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought it was so specifically for me that someone had given him my personal file and he did his talk based upon my life.
Yeah.
So after not saying I would only go this one time, I continued to go back for my own personal growth, for my own spiritual development.
Yes.
And then eventually got so interested in it, I decided to go the pathway of learning more about it, and then kind of reluctantly went into the ministerial path.
Yes.
Although I always say I always been a reluctant minister, but it was a calling that came to me, and it wasn't my idea. It was a higher power that pushed me in that direction.
Very well said. Talking to the great James Trapp, is Executive Director and Senior Minister at Spiritual Life Center, Sacramento, California. They're having a big event coming up on Saturday. An interfaith community whose mission is to transform lives, to make a positive difference in the world. But before your current position, as you mentioned, you're President and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries, the umbrella association for the Unity spiritual community worldwide. When you say worldwide, that gives you a worldwide view. Can you tell me if you have a different view being worldwide compared to maybe the local pastor that's in a church in a small town? Your thoughts?
Yes, every place that you go, particularly if you go outside the United States, and I always encourage people to travel to many different places, because you begin to see the world from different perspectives and realize that your perspective is not the only one. There are many different perspectives. There's none that's right or wrong. They're just different. Yeah. So I had an opportunity not only to go across the United States to different communities as a CEO and speak and present to the Unity ministries there, but also I've been to places like Ghana and Nigeria, to South America, Canada, Australia. Even had the Parliament of World Religions in Spain. So you have an opportunity to interact with many different people and see the world through their lens. And I think that's something that's extremely important. If you're going to create a harmonious world that works for everyone, you have to understand other people's perspectives in order to come to some agreement on how you can move forward. And I think that's part of our program as well. You got to see different perspectives.
That makes a lot of sense. Talking to James Trapp, I really do appreciate you coming on as a president and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. I want to go back to the education. Now, you graduated from Princeton University and the University of Florida School of Law, practiced criminal defense and civil rights law in South Florida. When you think about the civil rights movement, oftentimes when people looked at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they thought about pray your way to success or pray your way into civil rights. But as a lawyer, we are a nation of the law, not a nation of prayer. How do the two become mutually exclusive? We pray for legal help, if that makes sense. Your thoughts?
Well, it's good. I think you always start with prayer to just lay the right mindset, state of mind to move forward. But, they also say, you pray and you have to move your feet. Yeah. So you just can't stay in one place and just think that, the heavens on high are going to bring sounds to change. Exactly. You have to take action. And so that was one of the things I think Martin Luther King and others involved in the civil rights movement did. They took action in their own way. Yes. And one of the things I discovered is that, you have to put the social pressure on those who make the decisions in order to move forward. In fact, I think back in that day, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was the one who pushed forward a lot of the civil rights laws, said to Martin Luther King, you have to pressure me to do what I need to do so I can go to the Congress and get them to pass these laws. So you have to do your part in the field so they can feel the heat to move forward. Yes. What I discovered as well, not only the laws, but economics is probably the most important to help move forward parity in our society.
That's very well said. And when you talk about putting pressure on the powers that be, I appreciate California Senator Stephen Bradford asking for a special session to have more hearings on reparations bills. I want to go back to what you've done in the past. When I look at your background, the background event hosted by Spiritual Life Center includes a screening of a documentary, Traces of the Trade, that you talked about. I spoke to Dane and Constance yesterday on the program. It's a story from the deep north, followed by a discussion led by Dane and Constance Perry. Now the documentary traces the trade and tracks the journey of descendants of the DeWolf family and one of the most prominent slave trading families in United States history. A lot of people don't know that as they confront their ancestors' involvement in the slave trade. And then Dane Perry, a direct descendant of the DeWolf family, is central to this story, along with his wife Constance Perry, whose ancestors were enslaved. I want to get your thoughts on this. She's African American, he's Caucasian. We talk about the law, which has been antithetical to African Americans up to the civil rights movement, signed into law by Lyndon Baines Johnson. Can you tell me how this story that people need to see and hear is going to relate to your personal upbringing in life? Your thoughts?
Oh, how it relates to my personal upbringing. Oh, that's a good one. Well, one of the things I've been around for a little while. So I remember when my family, I used to live in Long Island, New York, and then my family moved down to Miami, Florida.
Okay.
And I recall that it was in the 60s that we were traveling through the Deep South. And this was right after they had officially ended the formal Jim Crow laws.
Okay.
And I recall going through, maybe it was Georgia, Alabama, I can't remember what state it was, and they still had the remnants of the Jim Crow laws when it said the colored water fountains, the white water fountains and bathrooms.
Wow.
And so that was something that I saw. And so although I lived on Long Island, New York, and it had a more underground type discrimination, it was much more blatant in the South. So I had a chance to kind of see that and also see the difference between how I lived in the North and how I lived in Miami when I lived there in the middle to late 60s.
Yeah.
So I had an opportunity to see the differences and the importance of having the laws to at least put in place the legal protections that folks needed to have.
Yes.
But I've always realized that behind the law, you have to have some moral authority.
Yes.
Because the laws in and of themselves will not necessarily bring about the change and the equality to the degree that we would want unless the people have something that changes within them.
Yes.
Because we are the ones who really make all the difference. So this event is an opportunity for people to become educated, know about the history, and because you have to understand the history and its impact on the society today in order to come forward with some solutions for the future. It's like when you go to a doctor and they want to, first of all, what is your medical history? I need to know that before I can give you the right prescription or direction for you to become healthy and whole again. And I think for us, one of the things of this event is people have an understanding of that history in order to move forward in a positive way and create a world that works for everybody.
Well, Mr. Trapp, I need your doctor. My doctor says, who's your insurance carrier? And then they ask me, who's your insurance? I need the same doctor you have, and that's good. I want to ask you also, what inspired, with all the churches in this country, and especially Northern California, what inspired the Spiritual Life Center to host this event?
Well, one of the things, I think one of the basic principles that we believe in is that we are, as individuals, spiritual beings, human beings, that we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And there's something that says that unless everyone is moving forward in a positive way, then we really, as a collective, cannot move forward.
Yeah.
And I believe that if anyone does better, we all do better.
Yeah.
And so this event is to help everyone do better, because whenever anyone is lifted up, we're all lifted up in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity for people to get an understanding of other folks, what the inequities have been in the past, and then determine how is it that we can move forward to right those inequities so that our society as a whole can be better and fulfill its potential that we all have within us. Because I don't think we can really say we do better unless everyone is doing better in some way, shape, or form.
In some way, shape, or form. Also, that's very well said. You know, as a sports show, as you're familiar, a lot of sports teams, they always pray. They either pray before or after games. And there was a time, if you recall, when Reggie White played for the Philadelphia Eagles, they would show the players praying together after a game. They'd come around the midfield and they've just finished battle for 3 hours, and now they sit down and pray. Can you tell me how this movie, obviously, people may have it's just my opinion, and everyone has one. People don't really come to grips yet, James, with the emotional healing that we all still need when it comes to slavery, the slave trade, how it wasn't like a group of, like a mob grabbed people and pulled them into slavery. Our country okayed it, legalized it. The rape, the murder, the selling of men, women, and children, grandparents, grandchildren. So obviously this Trace of the Trade is a poignant story, and I hope that it reaches the truth, the kind of truth that maybe the movie Roots reached with Alex Haley back in the day, where it went deep into how people really feel and how we have this wealth gap. It's a $14 trillion wealth gap. It started with slavery, and then the Homestead Act, and then the GI Bill, and then all the Jim Crow laws, and they're still fighting voting rights. Can you talk about the truth and the realism that people can actually be real about this screening that they're going to show? Your thoughts?
Yes. Well, there was tremendous profit to be made, through slavery.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the things that was the economic engine that catapulted, the United States to be a world power. I mean, if you can imagine, creating businesses and you don't have to pay your employees, how much of an advantage that gives you over anyone else.
Exactly.
So that was a great deal of exploitation of those group of people, but it didn't end. When, quote, slavery ended.
Right.
And if we look at, I think today, when we look at, what they consider the wealth gap, a lot has to do with the fact that the African American community was behind right from the beginning.
Yes.
And that was going to be righted initially, right after the end of the Civil War, when I think it was General Sherman, I think under Lincoln, was going to give those who were enslaved, the 40 acres and a mule, and then it was reversed later on. But what people don't realize is that if that had happened, that would have been worth, I think, today's dollars, something like $60 billion. That would have made a difference in the community.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons that there's a wealth gap today.
Yes.
And so when you talk about, and I know you mentioned a little bit about reparations, it's about the idea that a lot of the benefit came from, those who were enslaved and their families. And this would be a way that possibly you could begin to close the wealth gap.
Yes.
And it's a difficult challenge, a difficult subject, but it is something to take a look at. But I think people have to understand the history in order to realize what the possible solutions are if we're going to have a more equitable and just society.
I agree with what you're saying, and I appreciate the fact that we do need prayer, but we know we are a nation of the law. We can't pray our way into reparations. We can only do it legally, but prayer is also good. Talking to James Trapp, Executive Director and Senior Minister at Spiritual Life Center, Sacramento, California. I have a few minutes to go before we close, and I really do appreciate you coming on the program today, because we are a sports show, but I want to bring the sports world and the religious world and the legal world together like a nice gumbo, because it's all the same in my opinion. Every sports league, whether you're worth $1 billion or a few $100 million, there's a legal component to those contracts. But there's also a spiritual component to the athletes that pray and ask for a higher power to help them perform at a higher level. So when I go back to this event, Traces of the Trade, that's going to be seen this Saturday from 9:30 to 4 o'clock, elaborating on what the audience can expect during the discussion session after the film screening. I know they're going to talk, and I want real conversation, not being afraid to say how you really feel in fear of offending someone. Do you really feel that this can pull that out of people where they feel they have a safe place to talk about how they really feel and not wait until they get home behind closed doors? Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's one of the primary purposes of having this event. So individuals can have authentic conversations without being judged, so that others can also understand where they're coming from. And I think one of the challenges about talking about a difficult subject like this, people sometimes don't feel that they can be honest about how they feel.
Yeah.
So this is a place in which, the facilitators will evoke that opportunity for people to share their thoughts, their feelings, and then come together in a way to move forward.
Yeah.
You kind of have to bring it up, the emotions out, the thoughts out, lay them on the table so that each person understands where others are coming from, and then ask the question, well, how can we move forward in light of this understanding that we've had with each other? But unless you have the conversations first, things will pretty much stay the same.
Yeah.
So that's how it starts. It starts with having authentic conversations and then processing that conversation in a constructive way.
Talking to the great James Trapp, Executive Director and Senior Minister at Spiritual Life Center, Sacramento, California, having a great event coming up this Saturday at 9:30 to 4. In the last few minutes, they're having a workshop after. Most places, when you go see a screening, you just say thank you and have a safe trip home. They have a workshop. Can you tell me what you expect to get out of the workshop when the screening's done? Your thoughts?
Yes, after the screening, then people will just have an opportunity to share their experience of watching it, what their thoughts and feelings are. And then we're going to have a lunch, and then we're going to have a workshop that's going to be facilitated by Dane and Constance.
Yes.
And their focus of that workshop, and they call it Understanding Our Invisible Knapsack, or a knapsack workshop.
Yes.
And it's really looking at the invisible advantages that whites may have and they carry that's rooted in historical inequalities and how it relates to society and how we can begin to move forward in a constructive way. So the whole idea of the workshop is to begin to come up with ways to move forward collectively after we understood the history, understood and shared our feelings and thoughts about it, and then coming up with some proactive ways for us to move forward in a way that benefits us all. So that'll be part of it as well, because you don't want to just kind of leave the door wide open. You want to try to at least have some closure that gives you some positive action to move forward.
Talking to James Trapp, Executive Director of the Spiritual Life Center, Sacramento, California. Date and time, Saturday, September 14th, 9:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. It's a Unitarian Universalist Society of Sacramento at 2425 Sierra Boulevard, Sacramento, California. That's 2425 Sierra Boulevard, Sacramento, California. I believe there's a cost to attend. It's between, was it $25 to $30? Your thoughts?
Yes. Yeah, it's an optional ticket event. So we always say that people cannot afford it. Don't let that stop you. And get in. It's no charge if you don't have the fundings. If you can make a donation, then that's great. But you can go to our website, slcworld.org, look for events, and then you can sign up and register. We just need you to register. So it's slcworld.org. Look at the events tab, and it'll take you to the page that you can actually register. And you can either make a donation for one of the ticket prices, or you can just sign up and come and don't worry about paying.
Well, I do appreciate you. Time goes by so fast. I really do appreciate you coming on Big C Sports Podcast. Again, my purpose, I love sports. It brings people together. But I want to bring the clergy to be more involved in sports the same way the late, great Reggie White did, but many people before him. And then also the law, as we push for reparations. I've had members of the Reparations Task Force in California on my program, as well as Amos Brown, who did the benediction for the Democratic National Convention. He's been on Big C Sports Podcast also. So he's a minister in San Francisco and also a president of the NAACP. And in closing, I'll give you the final 30 seconds is yours. I want to just ask you, what's important to you, things that you're doing going forward? How can people find you? How can people become a member of your organization? The floor is yours, please.
Well, I would say that we are here because all of us have a purpose to in our life. And my thing is to help individuals discover their individual purpose so they can make a positive difference in not only their lives, their family lives, their community, and our world. So what we're about is helping people fulfill their personal and spiritual potential.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then we all are better off. So that's what we're about. We're not proselytizing or dogmatizing anything. We just want to bring out the highest and best within everyone. And you can always just go to Spiritual Life Center or slcworld.org and get more information about us, about our events, our classes, our workshops, and these particular activities that we have, just as we're having coming up this Saturday. So it's all about making people the very best that they can be and living their highest and best lives in the here and the now. And if they do that, then I think we're doing our job.
Doing our job. Talking to the great James Trapp. You know, I met you through Marilyn White, friend, and she's an excellent financial planner, so I really do appreciate her for introducing me to you. And then met Dane and Constance yesterday on the program, Big C Sports Podcast. I want to wish you the very best of everything you want. I hope that you have a super fantastic day. If I ever need you, if I ever need a lawyer, I got your name and number. If I ever need prayer, I got your name and number. I thank you for your time. I wish you a super fantastic day.
All right, Charles. Appreciate you as well, man. Have a great day.
Have a super fantastic day. Talking to the great James Trapp for I'm telling you, there's so much that I've learned about Big C Sports Podcast. Executive Director, Spiritual Life Center. They're having an event coming up in Sacramento, California on Saturday, and he told you all the things that you can do to be a part of that. I want to say thank you again for coming on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say again to my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, happy birthday, son. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You mean the world to me. And I want to also mention for Big C Sports Podcast, I do a lot of work in the community of sports and reparations. But also, asset protection is so important in this world that we live in. I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and law office of George Jones, Esquire. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits. Medicare and You, Taking Care of Tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other places, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home cost. You can find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Our promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without the spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. We have ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, protection of your assets. We do asset protection, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. You got to have a will and a trust. If you don't have a will, at the end of life, the probate courts, they will love you, and they will have a will for you, and you will not like it. You get that with the RDC team and the asset protection, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. But not only that, I'm not done yet. What does a trust do? We have protection insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance policies, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period in California. What about your fixed assets, Big C? Do you have that? I'm glad you asked. A trust protects your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market account, your certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets, Big C? I'm glad you asked, because a trust also protects your variable assets, your real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, other investments. Avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and then 1 year later that house appreciates to $1 million. According to some real estate brokers, they say what they got to say to get the sale. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gains. You're protected when your property's in a trust. Attention business owners. Over 3 decades of experience, you got to find out your options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Now, when people tell you to use their services, oftentimes they will tell you, trust me. You know, you can trust me. I'm a good person. A lot of people say, trust me, I'm a good person. But what we do is we offer more than just trust me, I'm a good person. We have some great endorsements. Endorsements are so powerful. Endorsements are worth 1,000 words. And that's what I love about the RDC team and the Big C team with Big C Sports. I want to tell you, when it comes to our endorsements, we have some great recommendations. We have the endorsement of the late James Gomez. Who is James Gomez? The late James Gomez advised 4 California governors in California and led change in California nursing homes. He also served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was the top legal counsel for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have, as I mentioned, attorneys Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. He endorsed the RDC team. We have Mr. George Jones, Esquire. the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. He endorsed the RDC team. We also have Mr. Leon Woods, one of the top consultants in Northern California. He endorses the RDC team. We have Ms. Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. We have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consultant, been doing his thing over 34 years and counting. He endorses the RDC team. Also, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz, who's the founder of American Veterans Services, and he endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, also business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, owner of Big C Sports Podcast Corporation, I endorse the RDC team. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout consultant for the National Black Wall Street Project on the payout committee. Also business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access Sacramento. She endorses the RDC team. You got to give that some praise. I said they give it praise. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, I got some things coming up in the world of Big C Sports Podcast that are more important than just who won a game. I have the great James Trapp, who is part of the executive director for their senior minister at Spiritual Life Center in Sacramento, California. They have an event coming up that he talked about. But I want to also say it's important to me because I'm so big on pro-reparations. California Senator Stephen Bradford, he's been all over the news as the vanguard for reparations in California for descendants of chattel slavery. And he's asking for a special session on reparations. The senator who had his bills blocked says that California Governor Gavin Newsom should pay attention to this. Following the fallout over two reparations proposals, California Senator Stephen Bradford said this week that the governor should consider calling a special legislative session on reparations. He said, I would like to have reparations added to this special session. Senator Bradford told KCRA-TV in an interview here in Northern California. He noted lawmakers are already heading back to the state capitol for the governor's special session on gas prices and oil prices. And I believe that should happen, and he knows it too. I want to say just recently at the state capitol, they voted on some bills for reparations, and out of three bills that were really important, one got through. It won by a vote of 56-0. Not 46-10, not 36-20, 56-0 for eminent domain, Senate Bill 1050. And what was paused was Senate Bill 1331 and Senate Bill 1403. And those bills are important, and that's what Senator Stephen Bradford is asking for. If you wonder, well, what is Senate Bill 1331? It creates a state fund to support current and future reparations funding. That's important. That got put on pause. What got through and voted 56-0 was Senate Bill 1050, provides restitution and compensation for eligible residents whose property was taken unjustly by certain state actions in California. That's important. You ask, what is Senate Bill 1403? That also got paused. It creates a state agency to help residents verify eligibility and carry out reparations policies. You got to give that some praise. You got to give it praise. It's more important than shucking and jiving. It's more important than who won a game. And that's why with Big C Sports Podcast, I always want to make sure that I pay homage to what's going on in California when it comes to reparations, because it's due and it's necessary. And I hope our presidential candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, will talk about reparations the same way they talk about other things in life, immigration, etc., and healthcare. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Before I get into Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings, here in Northern California, in the capital city, there's talk of having baseball. The Sacramento Solons have been gone over 6 decades now. But the Oakland A's that moved to Sacramento, is it in jeopardy? The Oakland Athletics are planning to move to Sacramento temporarily beginning in the 2025 season, and they're off to their proposed ballpark in Las Vegas in 2028 or 2029. Well, that plan at least right now, we're still waiting to see what the financing looks like for the Las Vegas ballpark, which will make or break the entire project, according to news reports out of Northern California. When I think about what's going on with the A's, it would be great for the Central Valley residents to have them come to Sacramento, California. At the same time, it would be horrible for the Bay Area to lose that team. They've been there over 60 years. Now, Major League Baseball's Players Association has not agreed to the upgrades that they're talking about for a ballpark, including the new artificial turf that's going to go in at Sutter Health Park in Sacramento next month. There's an attorney by the name of Scott Boras who went on to say in an interview that the issues that they're having is that the ballpark is outdoors, which has been a sticking point for many fans and media members alike, because the temperature in Sacramento can reach over 100 degrees easily in the summertime when baseball starts. I'm sure they will have misters. And when they say over 100 degrees, well, it's also, if you go to Kansas City, Missouri, Kauffman Stadium, it's an outdoor park. Temperatures reach over 100 degrees. If you go to St. Louis, Missouri, their ballpark is an outdoor stadium. The temperatures there reach over 100 degrees with the humidity. So it would not be the only stadium where the temperatures are 100 degrees in the summertime. I mean, you even have on the East Coast in Boston where the Red Sox and the Yankees play, and down in Atlanta, and also there are other places that have domes, but those are not dome stadiums. The Fenway Park is not a dome stadium. Yankee Stadium is not a dome stadium. The ballpark in St. Louis is not a dome stadium. Coors Field in Denver doesn't get as hot, not a dome stadium, so the heat could be a factor. But they have a thing called misters, and that would help. They would spray water, lightly sprayed, and that would solve a lot of the problem with the heat index. But again, I'm kind of torn about the A's situation, because leaving the Bay Area would be it's a sad thing for the East Bay fans. They've already lost the Golden State Warriors, even though they went back to San Francisco, and they lost the Raiders, which went out of state, and now they're in Las Vegas, Nevada. If the A's leave, what do you have left? Just being near the Coliseum about a month ago and seeing the land where the A's play, the Coliseum has more promise than Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. The Coliseum holds about 35,000 for baseball. Sutter Health Park has 10,000 permanent seats in Sacramento. They add the extra 4,000 where you're sitting on the grass. I don't see people wanting to sit on grass at a ballpark. It would be great, in my own opinion, if they tore down Mount Davis and made it possible to open up the view of the East Bay Hills in the Bay Area. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I know they want a new ballpark, and there's a new ownership in Oakland that wants to make that happen. So we will see if that comes to fruition or not. I hope that it does, because as much as I would love to see a ballpark in Sacramento, it would have to be about 31,000 seats to even rival Major League Baseball. I think the smallest stadium in Major League Baseball, you're looking at Fenway Park in Boston, and also, I believe, Wrigley Field in Chicago, that are right about 35,000 seats, not 14,000. I think the A's deserve better than that, and their fans too. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got Big C's Major League Baseball Power Rankings. It's my opinion, and that's what it counts. I have number 10, the Kansas City Royals. Runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curve out, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall. Hooray! Say hello to my little friends. I love seeing the girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. Got the Kansas City Royals that I just talked about, also in an outdoor stadium. That's a great place for a ballpark, and no one's talking about them leaving. I don't want to see the A's leave Oakland, but it'd be great to see them in the Central Valley as well. How about an expansion team? Number 9 in Big C's Major League Baseball Power Rankings. I have the Arizona Diamondbacks down in the desert. Of course, they have a dome stadium. When it gets to be 110 degrees in Arizona, obviously you can't play that in the outside playing a baseball game. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got number 8 in Big C's Major League Baseball Power Rankings. I have the Houston Astros. The Astros are a team over the last decade They've been one of the hottest teams in baseball, and they're right back at it again. I have them number 8 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have number 7 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. The San Diego Padres. What a beautiful stadium, Petco Field, down in the heart of downtown San Diego. They used to play at Qualcomm Stadium, and they tore it down, and they built a new stadium. They did not move the Padres to Las Vegas. They left them where they were. They moved the location, but they did not move out of the city. I would think that the people in the Bay Area could do the same thing with the Oakland A's. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I've seen games at the ballpark in Oakland, at the Coliseum. I worked many games there covering the Raiders, the Golden State Warriors, and also the Oakland A's. I got number 6 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have the Baltimore Orioles. Talk about a beautiful ballpark in Camden Yards. The Orioles will reach the postseason for the second straight year. They haven't played like a postseason team in over the past 2+ months, but they're a good team. I have them number 6 in Big C's Major League Baseball rankings. I gotta also take it, when they built Camden Yards, they didn't move Baltimore into Las Vegas the way they're trying to do with the A's. It's all about money, and I understand that. I got number 5 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have Cleveland. This is for you. The Cleveland Indians. Oh, beg your pardon, the Cleveland Guardians. They changed that name. See, things can change. They went from being called the Cleveland Indians to the Cleveland Guardians for social reasons. The Guardians have once again created a little separation as they have one of the better teams in Major League Baseball, and I love the Big C on the uniform. I got number 4 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. The Milwaukee Brewers. What a ball club. A lot of industry insiders like Milwaukee as their sleeper pick come October. I think they're good, but I don't have them winning a World Series. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But they are a good team, and they play in a dome stadium. I have number 3 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, left field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep in New York City at Yankee Stadium, while the fan base is clamoring for a top prospect, Jason Dominguez. Promotion, another Yankees rookie quietly continued making his way in his case for the hardware, Austin Wells. He padded his resume for the American League Rookie of the Year in a loud way with a 440-foot home run, hit deep, back to the wall home run. This is a great team, the Yankees. They won 27 World Championships. They have the great Aaron Judge, and he's at 52 home runs. And this is the team. It's always great for baseball when the Yankees are in the playoffs. And not only will they be in the playoffs this year, this might be the year you actually see them win the ALCS. Not trying to upset my good friends in Boston, but the Yankees they're just primed, in my opinion, to make a nice run at another World Series. And then this is where it gets a little bit shaky. But it's my opinion, and that's what counts. I have number 2 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. I got the Philadelphia Phillies. Trey Turner's time with the Phillies has been marked by a streaky production. We all remember his struggles last season until he finally broke out. And his OPS was over 100, actually 1,000. And then in the postseason, only to go 0 for 8 in the final 2 losses to Arizona. Things changed. This season, he had a huge first half, batting .349. And that's a team. They have Harper. They have pitching. They have a lot of great factors going in their favor. Philadelphia Phillies, they cracked Big C's top 2 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. I have number 1 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, center field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. The girls go crazy about the long ball in Los Angeles. Chavez Ravine. I have the LA Dodgers number 1 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. The Dodgers, they were ravaged by injuries throughout this rotation, but they got their encouraging sign that they longed for on Tuesday. They got Yamamoto. He stood on the mound for the first time in nearly 3 months. This is a team that's loaded at the bat. They can hit deep. They have a great outfielding team, a great manager, and they're in Los Angeles where no matter how good they are, it's still a team where people love the Lakers more for whatever reason. That's just my story, and I'm sticking with it. But I got them in number 1 in Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike! I hope that we have a great year as we chase down the playoffs for Major League Baseball. Not the most popular sport. Football's always number 1. Basketball's number 2. But baseball's rounding out number 3, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, I love telling you, I love when you follow Big C Sports Podcast. I want to play one of the greatest speakers in the history of this country when it comes to reparations.
And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
I believe in the reparations that's coming. In fact, I want to say for today's show, I do appreciate the clergy and the lawmakers that come together, but I also want you to stand hand in hand and the support for reparations, asking Governor Gavin Newsom to call a special session for California's reparations bill 1403 and 1331 that you heard about on Big C Sports Podcast. We as African-American freedmen are now asking the community to call California Governor Gavin Newsom to call a special session to vote on the 2 necessary key reparations bills, Senate Bill 1403 that will have created a new state agency to determine eligibility for reparations, and also Senate Bill 1331 would have established the fund for reparations and reparative justice in the state treasury. These bills were blocked by the California Legislative Black Caucus, and we're asking Governor Gavin Newsom to do the right thing for African Americans, descendants of African Americans. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to make sure that when you follow Big C Sports Podcast, you're not just getting who won a game. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You can Google the governor's phone number. It's public record in California. Well, that's my story, I'm sticking with it. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. You can just not do it. Don't let someone you love drink and start driving the life you say may be your own, or someone you love, or someone that loves you, or someone who's loved by somebody else. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911. I only stopped you because you make me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. I only choked you out because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. I only kicked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. If somebody loves you, they don't slap you, they don't beat you, they don't kick you. You need more LEADER in your life. LEADER is an acronym for love is the answer. Don't let anyone do that to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And when the police are called, people change. Never let someone do that to you or someone you love. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents called them Mama and Pop. They were beautiful, loving, kind people, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly, especially when it's time to eat, coming in from outside playing. Say, great grandma, I'm hungry now. Let me have a rib. She said, baby, go in the bathroom and wash your hands and you can get a rib. I don't have time to wash my hands. I'm hungry now. She said, you're going to wash your hands in this house? I said, okay, great grandma. And then I washed my hands and she let me eat, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. And then my great grandfather, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, it can fix anything. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were beautiful, loving, kind people. They can oftentimes look at a person and see them and see what's going on in their past, their present, and their future. They still help me to this day. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started an Head program, a food program, and coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. Mama, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I always praise you. The best person I ever met in my life. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry. They were pastors. They had 3 churches. They also had 2 gas stations. And they owned 40 acres of land. The Homestead Act gave white Americans 160 acres of land. They owned 40 acres of land. I remember being 8 years old, walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night. I felt someone touch me in my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies? I said, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap. What I'm doing, Grandma, I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now I'm broadcasting on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader. Always talking about sports and politics. He always said, go forward. In fact, don't look back because you don't have much backside back there anyway. I said, I love my backside, Todd. But he said I needed to do more squats. And so I've been doing more squats so my backside can get bigger, if that makes sense to you. You know, we love Malcolm X. But we also love the movie Pulp Fiction with Sam Jackson. It had John Travolta, Ben Rames, and Bruce Willis. Before the big fight, I remember that scene when Ben Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, sit down and take this money. He said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that, Flip! He said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, that stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride flubbing with you. And he said what a lot of athletes say to each other, and even politicians. He said, flub pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. And I said, flup, so don't get it twisted. And he said boxing is filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddly bluckers who think their butt gets better with time like fine wine. But it don't. In terms of vinegar, and then it do. He said, you're going to thank Uncle Marcellus one day when you're chilling on the Caribbean. And maybe that's what some people told the caucus that refused to listen to the votes. Senate Bill 1331 and 1403. But I believe Governor Gavin Newsom would do it through a special session. I believe that. We know that Bruce Willis, he didn't take the dive, and he lost his LA privileges. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. In fact, Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back in the day at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They had never done that before. They would normally go to ESPN. But because of 2 black men in the crew that did not get our reparations or the Homestead or the GI Bill, we took that station to number 1. And then shenanigans set in. I'm still standing, if that makes sense to you. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. I pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always, always, always trust God. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. Happy birthday, Malcolm. Happy birthday, Malcolm. Happy birthday, Malcolm. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. But he helped me save trees. I used to get newspapers and look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. One day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And as I said, now streaming on 4 TV platforms. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against us prosper. Always pray, always pray, always pray, pray, pray. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Happy birthday, Malcolm. I love you again with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn with their church buddies always said, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. SP nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. But what I have is this gland in the brain. It's called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God. And that's why I yell so loud, because God, I want you to hear me. I want you to do it now, God. Do it now. In Matthew 7:7, you said, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. While I'm asking, I'm seeking, I'm knocking. Give that some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, I give honor to Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter in the history of this country, and Drew Boudini Brown. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I end every show by paying homage to the inimitable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Abraham Lincoln. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a super fantastic day.